heat from there is exchange of heat between system and surroundings. And this process is called adiabatic process. Example for this, let us consider warm water present in thermoflask. Is there any exchange of heat between system and surroundings? Students, when you take warm water in a thermoflask, is there any exchange of heat between system and surroundings? Yes, there is no exchange of heat since the bottle is insulated. The boundary is insulated. The boundary is isolated. Understood? Students, are you getting my point? So you have to write this Q equal to 0. Here Q is not equal to, Q should not write as a constant. Q equal to 0 in thermodynamics, the Q means heat absorbed or released by system. So Q means it is not heat absorbed or heat released. You should say like that. If it is absorbed, some value, released some value. So there is no absorption, there is no releasing. So you should write Q equal to 0. You should not write Q equal to constant. And dQ will be 0. Whereas in isothermal process, temperature is constant, dT equal to 0. So please try to understand difference between isothermal process and adiabatic process. Now my question is, in adiabatic process, is there any change in temperature of the system during the process? Srivardhan, okay. What about remaining students? My question is, if you do adiabatic process and you know what is adiabatic process, is there any change in temperature of the system? So many students given answer no. No, sir. Okay, fine. Same warm water, if you fill in thermoflask, after one day, if you open that bottle, can you see warm water in the bottle? After one day, not 10 hours, 12 hours, after one day. Definitely, you cannot see warm water in the bottle. The bottle also, it's not that kind of leakage and any kind of leakage. It is completely insulated bottle, very costly bottle, this thermoflask. Even though after one day, if you open the bottle, the warm water becomes definitely cool water. Normal water. Students, it is a insulated, No heat is absorbed, no heat is released in this bottle. But there is a change in temperature in the system because the system contains particular matter, maybe molecule, maybe atoms, maybe ions. Atoms, molecule always move randomly. They can collide with other particle. They have rotational properties. They have a translational property. They have vibrational properties. To do all these things, they need certain amount of energy. So that energy would take. I mean, they can take from that heat energy. Already they have particular heat in that. So they use all that energy. That's why temperature decreases, but it is very, 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 very slow process. In adiabatic process, temperature of the system will change, but it is very, very, very slow process. Are you getting? Yes, students, write down very, very important point here. Temperature of system changes changes during adiabatic process. Very, very important, students. Don't confuse whether heat neither absorbed or not released. Even though the temperature of the system definitely changes, maybe sometimes increases, sometimes decreases. It depends upon the process. Yes, it is a adiabatic process. Some in that process, expansion takes place, compression takes place. So gas can be expanded, gas can be compressed in adiabatic process. In that process, sometimes temperature increases, sometimes temperature decreases. Students completed. This is about adiabatic process. Vikrant, we'll study that. We'll study in which case temperature rises, in which case temperature decreases. In coming classes, we'll study. Okay. Next, isobaric process. Isobaric process. In this process, in this process, pressure of the system is constant. In this process, pressure of the system is kept constant. So you have to write P is constant for the system. dP, change in pressure, is zero. When pressure is constant, heat will transfer, temperature will change, volume will change, except pressure. And it is called isobaric process. Next, isochoric process. So in isochoric process, volume of the system is kept constant. In this process, the volume of the system is kept constant. So V is constant. Change in volume of the system 0. Students completed? Okay. Next, cyclic process. Student, cyclic process, cycle, very good. I mean, a system at A state. What is state of the system? I said all thermodynamic properties are fixed. Temperature T, volume V, pressure P, these are constant. By applying some process like isothermal process or adiabatic process, any kind of process, then you change the state of the system as B. By applying others process, you change the state of the system C. Again, one more process D. By applying one more process, if D state again reaches to A state, let's say it is initial state, it is final state. By applying series of processes, finally a system reaches to initial state. That process is called cyclic process. Do you understand? Okay, so students, write down. A system undergoes number of processes finally reaches to initial state. That process is called cyclic process. And in cyclic process, very, very, very important is all state functions change in state function value 0. Temperature 0, because temperature here T, maybe a T1, maybe T2, maybe T3, finally reaches to A point. What is the temperature? T. Now, what is the change in temperature? 0. Change in pressure? 0. Students. So, in cyclic process, delta Z equal to 0, where Z is state function. any state function. But path functions, heat, work, they definitely change, but state functions, change in state function value 0. Completed. Okay. Next, irreversible process. And you know very well, irreversible. Irreversible means once a state of this system reaches to final state never converted into initial state. Okay? In irreversible process, only you can see initial state and final state, and no final state converted into initial state. Okay. Example, students. In a cylinder, the cylinder is a frictional, it contains frictionless piston. In this, we have taken some amount of, let's say, X moles of gas, O2 gas. If you keep 20 kg weight here, 20 kg weight. If I remove 20 kgs, what will happen? Immediately, the piston moves up and it is initial state, it is final state. In a short time, in a finite time, in a single step, you can see the piston moves to some final state. And it won't be reversible, definitely. So students here, this O2 pushing this piston, this force is called driving force. So driving force always about system. And oppositely, we are applying some force, that is opposing force. Driving force and opposing force. In irreversible process, driving force much greater than opposing force. So when driving force very higher than opposing force, you can see irreversible process. And all mostly all naturally occurring processes are irreversible. Rusting of iron, combustion of petrol, combustion of kerosene, combustion of many things, and neutralization. Most of the chemical digestion of food, milk converted into curd. So all naturally occurring process, mostly processes are irreversible processes. So students here for thermodynamics, see, we are studying some physical related topics. So we are using different terms. It is not chemical terminology. These are physical terminology. So driving force, if it is much greater than opposing force, that process is irreversible process. Students understood what is irreversible process? Yes. So write down definition of irreversible process. In this process, a system final state reaches by single step, single step, single step in a finite time, finite time. Since driving force is much greater than, much higher than opposing force. And mostly all naturally occurring process are naturally occurring process are irreversible process. Diffusion of gases. Diffusion of gas is a natural process and irreversible process. Once gases are diffused, it's very difficult to separate them. So naturally, no gas is divided from other gas once they diffused. Not only diffusion, many things you can see all are irreversible. But some processes, example, evaporation of water, the evaporated water again condensed and it will also come again as a rain. So some natural process may be reversible, but compared to irreversible process, those are very small. I mean, the number is very small. Students completed. Okay, Ropak, remaining students. Okay, right. And the last kind of process is reversible process. Yes, reversible means once a system reaches to final state, again final state converted into initial state. That is what reversible process. We are studying chemical equilibrium, in that reactants converted into products as well as products also converted into reactants. Somewhere you can see rate of forward reaction equal to rate of backward reaction. The stage is called chemical equilibrium. Not only in chemical reactions, in physical process also you can see this kind of equilibrium. Okay, particularly in thermodynamics, example for this, you need to understand very clearly this point, students. Same previous example I'm taking. Now I'm keeping 20 kgs 20 kgs in different forms, like 100 grams, 100 grams, 100 grams, 100 grams, 100 grams, 100 grams. If you keep 100 grams weights for 20 kgs, 100 grams, 100 grams, small weights, if you keep for 20 kgs, so there are many weights we have to keep. Okay. Now my point is, if you remove one one weight, 100 grams, what will happen? This patient moves very little, very little. So exactly this is the final state. It is the initial state. Students, to reach this final state, you have to do how many steps? Number of steps. Let's say it is a infinite steps. Reason, in reversible students, opposing force and driving force. Students, clear, screen is clear. Again, videos. Okay, okay. Wait one. Students, can you see now? No. Just a moment, Nana. Just 1 minute. One